Hello everyone, this is Emily speaking from Couch English, company which is dedicated to organizing and running various kinds of courses and trainings dedicated to practical business English. If you follow our YouTube channel, you can probably see different kind of webinars, podcasts and shorts in which you can find information from the point of view of that practical business English. Today I'm going to run a typical business topic which is connected with psychological safety. I decided to tell you a little bit more about it because, as I can see nowadays, it's becoming more and more popular that companies, managers, leaders, they expect from the employees to be really engaged, to be at the same time effective, to engage not only in their regular scope of the responsibilities, but what the companies are also expecting from the employees is the engagement on a really high level. They want the employees to engage in different kind of social initiatives, to participate in various types of interdisciplinary projects, to be always and all the time the top performance. I would say that this is like a kind of typical expectation from the companies, and at the same time, we have to be aware as companies, as managers, as leaders, that it is some kind of a mutual collaboration. Because if the company is expecting from the employees to be engaged, to be top performance, to be motivated, to dedicate really to the company, there is something that the company has to provide instead. I would relate to one of the examples which I met a few months ago, showing that the engagement from the company point of view has to be shown in a little bit different way. Because, in my opinion, what the companies have to do is that they have to provide safety and trust. Without that, I'm not sure if there can be that kind of the expectation that employees will be engaged, that they will be performing if the company doesn't deliver trust and safety. The example. Some time ago, I was collaborating with the company which was wondering what is the reason why employees are not engaged, why they are not enthusiastic whenever they hear about any kind of change to be implemented into the company. The company was really a little bit worried and disappointed that employees are not bringing new ideas, new initiatives, and usually when the company wants to introduce any kind of new idea or change, they are just, let's say, accepting it in silence and not raising any kind of concerns or issues. In practice, it looked this way that the CEO of the company, he was imposing the idea, he was informing employees about the change, and then usually when the change was already being implemented, there was again a bit of disappointment from the point of view of the CEO because he was quite worried and quite frustrated when any kind of mistake at the stage of implementation happened. And of course, there were different kind of consequences connected with those mistakes happening at the stage of change implementation. So, what he decided to do was to organize the meeting for all of the employees, like few hundred of employees of the company. He decided to gather everybody together and just openly talk about changes implemented in the company. There wasn't information upfront what employees can expect from that kind of the meeting. There was only the notification that the CEO wants to organize the meeting for all of the employees and talk about the changes. So most of the employees, they were probably sure that new kind of change is going to be introduced. And what happened instead was the CEO at the very beginning of the meeting, he took the voice, although he was supposed to be only one of the participants of the meetings because there was the assigned facilitator of the meeting. But what he did was that he took the voice and he said that he is quite again disappointed that any kind of change happens, employees are not telling him directly about any kind of risks, any kind of problems, obstacles. He is quite worried and again frustrated that any kind of problems happen at the stage of implementation, that there are a lot of mistakes, and in fact, those mistakes could be prevented. And he said that he doesn't understand why employees are not coming to him directly, why they are not raising any kind of concerns just before the change is implemented. So, what he said also during this meeting was that he said this is the right place and right moment for all of you to tell to me and tell to the other members of the board why you're not so enthusiastic, why you're not so motivated, why you're not so engaged, and why you're not bringing new ideas, and why you're not informing about any concerns. At the same time, when he was talking about his expectation and the goal of the meeting, it was, I would say, pretty visible that he is quite an imposing person, that he is quite dominant in that meeting, and you can probably guess what happened. Nobody said anything. Nobody, I would even say, dared to speak up. His expectation, I mean, the CEO expectation was that people should take the voice, not anonymously, but of course personally, so that everybody could have that kind of possibility to say, I, Emilia, I don't agree with something. I, as that kind of the employee, I have that kind of idea. Or the reason why I'm not bringing any kind of issues is because. So he wanted everybody to speak directly to him and inform about the reasons. And again, coming back to what I already mentioned, nobody spoke up. Nobody dared to take the voice. No wonder, I would say, because extremely important is if we want employees to be engaged, if we want employees to be motivated, if we want them to really contribute to the company, the first thing that we have to provide to the employees as the employer, as leaders, as managers, is to ensure them so called psychological safety. Psychological safety is about creating that kind of the atmosphere in the company in which people will have the feeling that they can be themselves, they can speak up, if they disagree with anything, they can talk about it. They can raise any kind of issues. They can talk about some kind of roadblocks, obstacles. If they don't agree with the idea of the other people, of the managers, they can also openly talk about it. And what is really, really important in terms of psychological safety is that they should, I mean, employees, they should have that kind of the feeling that even if they're going to speak up, even if they're going to be themselves, even if they're going to disagree with something, there will be no negative implications, there will be no punishments, there will be no consequences, like, for example, dismissal, if they're going to speak up. And coming back to the example which I shared with you, I'm pretty sure that in that case, employees, first of all, they were surprised because they didn't know what to expect during that kind of the meeting. Secondly, probably because of their former behaviors or some kind of experiences, they were pretty sure that they even shouldn't speak up because they could face some kind of the consequences. And in terms of psychological safety, that's something we should avoid. So we should be pretty sure that even if we're going to talk about those problems, obstacles, if we're going to raise any kind of concerns, nothing negative is going to happen. And we're going to be even appreciated that we saw some kind of the challenges. Psychological safety can be divided into four different areas. It's about learner safety, challenger safety, collaborator, and inclusion safety. So, four different areas that we need in the organization, again, to feel courageous, to feel safe, to feel secure, and to have that kind of belief and conviction, or even the guarantee that we can trust one another and we're also going to be trusted. If it is about one of the aspects of the psychological safety, so learner safety, it means that if we feel it, it works this way that we will know that when we join the company, we don't have to provide 100% of the expected results because we are at the stage of learning. If we're going to take on ourselves some new responsibilities, new tasks, new projects, the same, we don't have to be 100% effective because we are learning. Even if we're going to be involved in our regular scope of responsibilities in different kind of projects, the same, we should have that kind of guarantee that we can be a little bit underperforming because maybe we're experimenting, we're learning something new, we're testing different kind of solutions and options, we are sourcing new solutions to be able to be more effective, to incorporate the process which is going to be maybe more optimal, and that's about the learner safety. We should also have that kind of guarantee that we can ask questions. There is that kind of the saying, especially in the training industry, that there are no stupid questions. The only stupid question is the one which was not asked. So we should see that in our team, in collaboration with our leader, in collaboration with other departments, we have right to ask questions. There is space for questions and of course for the answers. We should have the space for discovering some new opportunities, new options. We should have the space to just check some new solutions, to source the internet, to source different kind of base of knowledge, of information, to be able to incorporate or improve the processes. And at the same time, if it is about our leaders, they are the ones who are responsible for creating the proper environment and atmosphere in which we will have that kind of conviction that we can learn, we can discover, we can have different pace of work, and there is also the permission to make mistakes, which is really, really important in terms of the learner safety. So what the leaders should do is to create the space in which people will be able to collaborate with each other. They will be able to participate in, for example, mentoring programs. They will be able to participate in job shadowing. So that's the space in which we can learn from one another. One person who is more senior will be able to share the knowledge, to share the experiences, to talk about different kind of aspects of the processes together with other more junior employees. The junior employees at the same time, they should be also able to teach the others because it is not said that juniors are only learning. They should be also able to share their knowledge because maybe they brought something from other environment, other area of the organization, outside of the organization, which can be really of a huge value to the other team members. So there should be the space for sharing the experiences, learning something new, and exchanging the knowledge. What is also important is that leaders should be concentrated on creating the atmosphere and the spirit of collaboration, not competition. Because if we compete, there will be probably that kind of the conviction that maybe I shouldn't share the knowledge with the other people because after that they might be better. So if we have competition, I'm not sure if people are going to be so open for learning, for exchanging the knowledge, and for making mistakes. So rather collaboration, not competition. Another thing which is really, really important, in my opinion, is to create some space simply for learning, even for micro learning. If we're going to dedicate a few minutes per day, if we're going to create some kind of platforms for learning where some inspiring articles or podcasts can be shared, it will be the signal for the other people in the company that we can learn, we can stop for the moment. We don't have to be all the time effective. We don't have to all the time strive to goals. But from time to time, we can just stop, learn, read some articles, listen to the podcast, talk with each other with that dose of inspirations to see that yes, there is the space for learning as well. That's about learner safety. And another one, I would say a little bit like level up, is so called challenger safety. That one is connected with the fact that we should feel safe. We should feel secure to challenge the status quo. And I know that sometimes there is that kind of conviction again in the organizations that if some certain process has been working in a certain way for probably several months, days, or even years, it should be left as it is. But at the same time, if we see that the organization is innovative, that the organization is open for changes, they should be also open for people saying, no, you know what? I'm sure that probably for many, many years, if the process worked like that, it was perfectly fine. But I would like to bring my idea. I would like to bring my opinion, and I would like to challenge the status quo to show how differently we can right now design and craft the process. So there should be that space for the employees to say, yeah, okay, the process worked like that, but maybe it's time to change it. If it is about the challenger safety, what is also very important is to create the space for brainstorming. We have thousands of methods for brainstorming, so let's just have it. Let's create the space for that. People should be able to sit at the table and discuss pros and cons, different kind of ideas. They should have the space to share some kind of arguments, even to disagree with one another, which is not so simple because I know that a lot of leaders they are afraid of conflict because conflict can be perceived as some kind of vivid conversation. But at the same time, if we're going to feel comfortable, if we're going to feel safe in the company of the other people, there will be no problem to say, okay, I can understand your point of view. At the same time, I do not agree with that, and I have a little bit different opinion, which is perfectly fine to say it. So that's also about the challenger safety. I said that, of course, this is something that the leaders should do. So they should create that proper space for making sure that people are going to feel so comfortable and so safe that they will be just able to discuss. They will be able to disagree. But there is something more, which, in my opinion, is pretty important here because leaders should be aware that people come from different environments. They have different kind of upbringing models. They were raised in different kind of environments and they have also different kind of experiences. So it might happen that somebody used to work in the company which is very, very hierarchical, and in that company questioning leaders, telling to leaders that no, you're not right, was not something accepted. And probably somebody who had that kind of experiences or who was raised in the family in which it was said, oh, you cannot say to the person who is older than you that this person is not right. In that case, probably people who are coming with that kind of the experiences, they will be pretty shy, embarrassed to question, for example, leaders, to say to leaders, sorry, I do not agree with that. I would like to design the process a little bit differently. That's why I would say that it takes a bit more time in comparison to learner safety to create that proper environment for the challenger safety. And one of the ideas which, in my opinion, leaders could introduce would be to create, for example, silent brainstorming possibilities in which everybody will be first writing down, noting the ideas which everybody has, and only then, when everybody is going to have the ideas noted, there will be the space for sharing all of them. I would even say that leader maybe even shouldn't share the idea or maybe do it at the very, very end, because otherwise, due to those various experiences and different kind of beliefs that people are bringing to the table, it might happen that if the leader is going to be the first person who is sharing the idea, everybody else is going to say, yeah, perfect idea, great, being like the echo chamber, saying, yeah, let's just do it. Although in their mind, I mean, in the mind of the employees, there will be that kind of conviction that no, 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 the idea was not the best one. But, well, if the leader said so, what to do? We have to follow. So I would say that it is one of the most important things that leaders should introduce just to make sure that not only in the company there will be this challenger safety environment, but the leader will be also able somehow to to fight with the convictions, beliefs, and experiences that people brought to the organization from different kind of environments. And probably one more thing, which in my opinion is really, really important, is that leaders should all the time permanently show to the employees that all the ideas should be brought to the table, that all the ideas are really good ideas. There are no stupid, the same as questions, ideas. So all the ideas should be discussed. If any kind of idea is not going to be introduced, there should be definitely some kind of constructive argumentation. All the ideas should be appreciated just to show to the employees that yes, we really value and we really see the benefits of all the ideas which are brought to the table. That's about the challenger safety. And moving on, I would probably relate also to collaborator safety. It's the one which is strictly connected with the synergy effect. We have to see as employees that we can develop more, we can perform more, we can be more effective, and generally we can benefit more if we cooperate, if we collaborate with other people. That's why to be able to do it, we should have a definite set of competences, but also rules which are going to enable collaboration. Because what is important in case of psychological safety is that I should have that kind of guarantee that if I'm going to speak up, if I'm going to show who I am, I will not be ridiculed. I won't feel embarrassed. People are not going to laugh at me. They are not going to criticize me, which is not just that simple because again we can have that kind of experiences from the past in which we were, for example, ridiculed by the other people, we were criticized by other people, not in constructive way. So because of that, this collaborator safety, it can be really difficult. And that means that again, what managers should do is that they should create an environment in which we are going to have different kind of rules promoting constructive feedback, promoting open dialogue, promoting respectful behaviors, and at the same time employees should know that if somebody is going to treat the other people not in fair way or not in equal way, or if there is going to be lacking respect, there will be definitely some consequences. So rules, in my opinion, are really, really important, and only then we can talk about some further actions. For example, creating the possibility for some interdisciplinary projects in which people from different areas, different environments, different departments, they will be able to collaborate. What is also important is the so-called inclusion safety. That's the last one, but very important. Although probably I should even say that this is the consequence of the previous ones, because the inclusion safety means that I know, I'm sure, I have the guarantee that I can be myself. I can show myself as a human being. I can show my opinions. I can show different opinions in comparison to other people. I can also show my emotions, and that's also about emotional safety. And that's really okay if I'm going to do it. It doesn't matter who I am. It doesn't matter if I'm the same or completely different from the other people. I can always contribute as long as I'm going to respect other people, as long as I'm going to be open and curious about the other people, I can get the same in return. So, inclusion safety is mainly about creating that kind of environment in which diversity is going to be respected. And here, what I would say is really, really important is that leaders should be aware of different kind of unconscious biases because we have them, and really sometimes we're not conscious. So leaders are the ones who are safeguarding to some extent different kind of behaviors, following the rules, and they have to make sure that people from different environments with different skills, with different personality styles, they're going to be able to collaborate. Psychological safety, as I mentioned at the very beginning, is, in my opinion, crucial. And only if we're going to create an environment in which people will be able to be themselves, in which they are going to be able to speak up, in which they will be able to learn following different pace of learning, following their personality style, the environment in which people will be able to collaborate, to communicate. They will have different kind of opportunities for development, understood also again in different kind of the way. Only in that kind of environment we can expect that we are going to have the environment, the team, the organization full of engaged and effective people. That's something what I wanted to mention today. Of course, what I was talking, of course, what I said to you today about that particular aspect, you can find also following our YouTube channel. So if you like that, you can check different kind of podcasts and webinars that we can share also there. Thank you very much for today, and I hope to see you soon.